Welcome back and welcome to Business Extra. You join us at the International Aviation Academy here in Norwich, next to the airport. This place is a world first. It's a specialist training centre to bring through the next generation of engineers, pilots and crew, anything the aviation industry needs, and hopefully filling something of a skills gap that currently exists. Now, this place, as I said, is a world first. It's the only one that's got one of these, a 737, actually in a very large classroom, a hangar to be precise. We'll be picking up much more about this place in just a few moments' time, but first let's catch up on the business headlines from the week.
Thanks, Neil. The region's housing market saw some subdued sales in July as political uncertainty and tax changes held it back. That's according to a new survey from the Royal Institute for Chartered Surveyors. Low stock numbers were also a factor in the east of England in their residential market survey, which saw price growth had slipped from 1% to -6%. The RICS said this showed a flat market and the softest readings they'd seen since the EU referendum vote. The lettings market was also positive, with quarterly figures showing tenant demand edged higher. Rents are also expected to grow in the coming 3 months. An air link between Norwich Airport and the northeast of England will be taking off once more this autumn, bringing back a route that was last flown 20 years ago. The 6 days a week flight to Durham Tees Valley Airport will be run by Scottish airline Loganair, who will also offer an onward same plane connection to Aberdeen. It will start again in October and could prove to be popular with businesses working in the traditional and renewable energy industries in the 3 regions which serve the North Sea and southern North Sea off the east coast. And finally, a plan's been tabled to turn Norwich's old classical music shop Prelude Records into a pasta restaurant. The store in St Giles Street closed its doors for the last time at the end of March after more than 30 years in the fine city. The building is currently empty, but Turco Hospitality have lodged plans to change its use from retail to restaurant. They say internal alterations will be needed, but the plan would create 4 full-time and 2 part-time jobs.
Thank you very much indeed. You join us again here at the International Aviation Academy here in Norwich, which got its official opening over the weekend. This place is a specialist training centre for the aviation staff of the future. So let's find out a little bit more about it from its founder, Simon Witz.
The reason it's a world first is because it's the only place in a single building you can actually have a live operational training aircraft, the aircraft and the helicopter, plus also university level, college level, school level training going on and industry training. And the people who leave here are ideally placed to go straight into jobs in the industry. It's very special because it's Norwich, because Norwich is one of the birthplaces of aviation, so putting that back on the map is an important part of this. But further than that, it's to provide opportunities for people from the region to get into aviation, one of the most exciting industries that you can get into, but actually one of the most difficult to understand what the access points are. About 20 years ago, it's actually one of the 2 centres in the UK for training engineers, and actually there are still across the world places where you go and say, where were you trained? Norwich. Now, for whatever reason, over the last 20 years, we've forgotten about that, but actually it is the birthplace of aviation. So 100 years ago, people in Norwich, Rose Lane, were actually designing the first metal-built aircraft for the RAF. We've had a number of high-profile visits, and not only the Prime Minister, but also industry visits of saying, yeah, we just want to take the people that are trained here.
Looking up into the rafters, you can spot a little bit of history. These are the original British steel beams from when this was a World War II era hangar, the home for bombers and fighters when Norwich Airport was still an RAF base. More recently, this has been the home for an Anglian Windows production facility. But a year later and £12 million worth of work, this is what they've been left with, a modern new aviation academy. But how much work went in to making it all happen?
We were first involved from the beginning when there were a number of sites being looked at. We had some early conversations with KLM about what was needed in this building, and really it was looking to see whether this was a suitable building to convert to an aviation academy.
It was quite tough to start with. It was a Second World War existing hangar in a very bad state, so to really walk into the building seeing it in a state like this for the first time, it was hard to imagine really what can be done.
I think the structure was originally built for Spitfires and Hurricanes, so quite small aircraft really, and then the RAF made this station over to the US Air Force, so they had bigger aircraft, and I think it was bombers in the end that flew from here, so they've got quite big wingspan. But a modern jet airliner is quite different to that, and has a bigger wingspan, has larger engines, and has a much taller tail. So that was our chief problem, was that the tail of a modern jet airliner, this 737 we've got here, is higher than the bottom boom of the truss that spans across the large space. So we had to make a special extension at the end to accommodate that.
As we got here for the first time, that was still Anglian Windows manufacturing unit. Actually, over here, as we're standing in the space, there was a huge mezzanine. It was very dark. Every bit of the roof was pretty much leaking. So it was great to actually see it being demolished, and at the same time paying a lot of attention to keeping the heritage of the building and the existing structure.
26 degree level students started their training in April, and they're going to be joined by 100 more 16-year-old engineering students when the new term starts in September. They're all hoping to help fill the big skills gap that exists in the industry at the moment, and it seems demand for places is already high.
Engineers previously, when training, would have to go out into the workplace as a mechanic and earn their hours to then be classified to be an engineer. It's very difficult to A, find a good place to do that, and B, get the experience that's needed. So it was taking quite a long time for them to get where they wanted to be. They can learn it all here whilst studying, so they go from classroom to workshop to the live aircraft, and they can leave here as an engineer.
People who are in the industry now are coming up to retirement, and we've not been topping up. The world has not been topping up, so there are something like 2.1 million pilots and engineers and cabin crew required by 2030 just to keep still.
A lot of people still don't know about us, so we're trying to put the word out there. But the more and more people who find out, the more people want to be here, and all the courses are getting booked up quite nicely. So next year I think we've got a full intake for all of the courses, so it's definitely a desirable place for them to be.
This place was officially opened at the weekend by Carol Vorderman in her role as honorary group captain with the Air Cadets. And she's also a keen pilot, something that's been a dream for her since her childhood.
The greatest gift that we can give to the next generation is education and inspiration, and that's a big part of my life. And you know, I have two children. They were both cadets, and I'm the ambassador for Air Cadets, honorary group captain, which is a great privilege. So it's all of those things really for me. It's not just turning up and cutting a ribbon, and it's about how I know the influence on a lot of young people in the region will come from here.
So as well as the 737 plane just down the corridor, they've got advanced simulators too, like this one here for a helicopter. But more students will be arriving in September to take up a golden opportunity to learn the ropes of the aviation industry and help cement Norwich's place as a real world leader of aviation training. And that can't be a bad thing for the city.
Well, it's exciting because it's a first. It's exciting because it brings investment into the airport, secures the future of the airport, and it's introducing a new area of specialism, which is sort of high engineering skills specialisms. And I think what you'll have is you have a kind of clustering of industries around these engineering, high-level engineering skills.
The LEP is one of the funding partners. It provided 3.3 million of investment to help unlock this site and generate the potential to inspire those young people. Well, I think it's just the ambition, the vision of the facility and the aviation skills partnership, and you know, we want to create the kind of economy that's got high growth, high potential, and aviation industry has all those elements.
In 10 years it would have restored the position of Norwich into being the world's place that engineers and aviation people are trained. The building will be full, we'll be building the extension, we're planning an international aerospace academy next door, we have the hotel hopefully being built shortly. So this will be an aviation campus, if you like, or an aviation centre of excellence that the world will be proud of. Well,
that's all we've got time for from Business Extra for this week here at the Norwich International Aviation Academy. On Twitter we are @MustardTV and hashtag is Business Extra. Have a very good night.